Welcome to our channel, Book by Book. Today, we are opening a book that, well, it really shook things up for women in finance when it first came out. It's a necessary, passionate call for self-reliance that feels just as relevant, maybe even more so, today.
Yeah.
We're doing a book-by-book summary of Rich Woman, a book on investing for women because I hate being told what to do.
And this isn't just, another finance book. It feels more like strategic empowerment.
Uh-huh.
It's by Kim Kiyosaki.
Mhm.
She's a really accomplished investor and entrepreneur, and yes, she's married to Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad, Poor Dad fame.
Right.
But this is very much her message. It comes directly from her own experiences, her own observations.
And that message, which she put out there back in 2006, it just immediately confronts you with a kind of stark reality. Most women are, maybe without even realizing it, conditioned for financial dependency.
Yeah.
Taught to look for stability from outside sources like a secure job, maybe a partner who handles the money side of things, or just sort of hoping things stay calm economically.
And that dependency, that's the core issue the book tackles. It creates this huge vulnerability.
Mm,
Because life, well, it's unpredictable, isn't it?
definitely.
You've got economic shifts, sure, but also really personal stuff. Divorce, job loss, the death of a partner.
Yeah.
If you're dependent, those events aren't just emotionally devastating. They can lead to complete financial ruin.
So that's the mission Kim really lays out. She wants to empower women not just to, catch up financially, but to actually take the lead, to
Yeah.
build confidence through real financial literacy and, this is crucial, through active investing.
hmm It's about building your own fortress of freedom, really. So
Right.
your life isn't run by fear or by someone else's choices.
And if you had to boil the entire book down to its absolute core message, the quote that really lays the foundation,
You've got it right there, I bet.
I do, it's the phrase that's like the ultimate wake-up call. And it really resonated, I think, with millions around the world. A man is not a financial plan.
Wow. Yeah. 6 words. And they just kind of demolish decades of cultural baggage and expectations around reliance, don't they?
Instantly. It forces you to reflect.
Absolutely.
So our goal with this summary today is to pull out the sharpest, most actionable lessons. The key mindset shifts and the practical step-by-step tools Kim Kiyosaki offers. We want to take these financial concepts, which can seem pretty dense or complicated.
Intimidating sometimes.
Exactly, and simplify them. So you, listening right now, can start charting your own path towards, well, lasting independent wealth.
Okay, so let's start with that foundational idea, financial independence. People often talk about it like it's some kind of, ultimate goal, something nice to have down the road.
Right, like a bonus.
But Kiyosaki just flips that completely.
Yeah.
She argues that financial control isn't a luxury perk at all. It's a basic necessity. It's like the ultimate form of personal insurance.
I think the key distinction she makes is that it's not really about buying a certain lifestyle, is it? It's about buying the power of choice.
Exactly. Choice and freedom.
She points out that a lot of women, maybe unintentionally, delegate or just avoid dealing with finances. Maybe it's lack of confidence, maybe just being overwhelmed with life.
Mhm.
But they don't realize that handing over that control automatically increases their vulnerability.
And that vulnerability, as she shows, can be catastrophic. Kiyosaki shares some really sobering stories in the book. Women who did everything right by traditional standards, responsible, dedicated, trusting.
They handled the household budget, maybe?
Yeah, they managed the day-to-day stuff. But the big picture, the wealth-generating decisions, the investing, the major debt, the asset strategy, they handed that over to husbands, partners.
And then what happens if that partnership ends unexpectedly? Maybe through divorce or worse.
They find themselves
Worse.
completely starting over. Kim talks about women suddenly having to manage everything at 50, 60 years old,
Ah.
only to find out they have no clue about their own assets. Or they're saddled with debt they didn't really grasp. They don't have any independent investments. They worked hard their whole lives, but end up, financially stranded.
That's the real cost of dependency, isn't it? Not just the money, but the emotional toll. Having to rebuild your financial life so late.
It's immense.
Which is why lesson 1, a man is not a financial plan, is just so direct and powerful. It's basically an instruction. Cut your risk by taking personal control. Now.
Precisely. You can't control the stock market.
Yeah.
You can't control your partner's decisions necessarily. You can't control the economy. But Kim is adamant. Your best protection is controlling your own financial education. And through that, your own choices.
I was really struck by the story of her own realization moment. Here she is, married to Robert Kiyosaki, immersed in this world of wealth and investing.
Right. You'd think she'd feel secure.
But she describes this moment of intense panic Why would she feel vulnerable when she's right there, so close to all the knowledge?
Well, it wasn't about a lack of money around her. It was about the lack of her own specific knowledge and control over her own financial future.
Oh,
She realized, look, she trusted Robert, of course.
yeah.
But if his investments, which were often complex, maybe highly leveraged,
Yeah.
if they went south, and that's always a risk in investing,
Yeah.
she'd be exposed.
She'd be standing on someone else's foundation.
Exactly. And that flash of vulnerability, that feeling, it pushed her to build her own financial engine. She started with real estate, focused on generating her own independent cash flow.
So the lesson isn't really about separating finances in a marriage necessarily. It's about preparation, building dual stability, maybe.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And she uses that fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
Relying on someone else financially is like letting them drive your car while you're wearing a blindfold.
Oof. Yeah.
You might enjoy the ride for a bit, sure, but you have zero control over the speed, the direction, or, the potential crash.
It's vivid.
And digging a bit deeper, Kim suggests that for many women, this delegation of finance stems from two main places. One is societal expectation. The old idea that men handle the big money stuff.
Yep.
And the other is just intimidation, thinking, oh, investing is too complex for me.
So the very first actionable step is just refusing to accept those premises.
Refuse both.
So for you listening, the takeaway here is don't wait for someone to give you permission. It means start reading about investing today. Even if it's just one article, one chapter, it means asking those tough, maybe uncomfortable questions. To your financial advisor, if you have one, or to your partner. Get specific.
Handle your own accounts, even small ones. Just get your hands dirty, get familiar, build that confidence muscle. Independence starts with just basic awareness and literacy.
She also really emphasizes knowing the details, right? Like what debt is actually in your name, how are assets titled, what does your cash flow truly look like?
Absolutely. You need to know exactly what's going on. Ignorance in finance, she argues, isn't bliss at all. It's more like a ticking time bomb.
So fundamentally, education is the first line of defense against life happening.
That's it, exactly. And building that defense system naturally leads us to the next big hurdle. It's arguably even more critical because it's internal. The barrier of belief, of mindset, right? So if dependency is the external barrier, mindset is the internal one. Kim Kiyosaki makes a really compelling case that the biggest thing holding women back from wealth isn't usually a lack of opportunity or even capital. It's she calls it the outdated operating system they're often running on when it comes to money.
That's lesson 2, change your money mindset. And I think we need to spend a bit of time here because this feels like where that deep cultural conditioning really kicks in. What are the key differences, she points out, between that sort of scarcity mindset often pushed onto women and the wealth mindset she champions?
Okay, so the scarcity mindset tends to whisper things like, be careful, save every penny, don't take risks, money is stressful, maybe even a bit dirty. It's fundamentally rooted in survival and fear.
The wealth mindset, on the other hand, says things like grow, create value, use money as a tool, leverage it to create more opportunity. It's rooted in a sense of abundance.
And Kiyosaki directly tackles some of those limiting beliefs, right? Like the societal programming that can sometimes paint successful, wealthy women as, selfish or greedy.
Yes, absolutely. The first major shift required is really redefining what money is. If you secretly believe money is somehow evil, you're going to subconsciously push it away, aren't you? Because you don't want to become something you dislike.
That makes sense.
Kim insists money is just a magnifier. If you're a good, generous person, money will amplify your ability to do good things. It's a tool. It doesn't have its own moral compass.
Okay, so that's shift number 1. What's next?
The second big shift is about self-worth. Women need to genuinely believe they deserve to be rich. Not just comfortable or okay, but actually rich.
Why is that distinction so important?
Because if your goal is just enough, you'll likely settle for basic stability. You might not push further. But if you truly believe you're worthy of real abundance, that belief drives you to create the systems that deliver it.
And that leads to the third shift, which sounds very rich, Dad. Focus on assets.
Right. Stop focusing only on job security. That's the E quadrant employee, which we'll touch on later. Start focusing rigorously, relentlessly on building assets and maximizing positive cash flow. Income from a job is linear, right? You trade time for money. Income from assets can be exponential.
Okay, so mindset shift is key. But let's talk about the practical fear, especially around risk. Moving from scarcity to wealth thinking involves embracing some level of risk, doesn't it? How does she suggest women conquer that fear of losing money? Because that seems like a huge block for so many people starting out.
She suggests reframing the entire concept of loss. This is where the tuition mindset comes in. It's brilliant.
Okay, tell me more.
She talks about her own terror before buying her very first investment property. All the voices screaming in her head, bad tenants, market crashes, the roof caving in, all of it. She could easily have just stopped right there.
But she pushed through.
She did. But here's the key. She mentally prepared for the worst-case scenario. She calculated what the loss might be if the deal totally failed. Let's say it was $10,000.
Right.
And she decided, okay, if I lose that $10,000, it's not a failure. It's tuition. It's the price I'm paying for my real-world financial education.
Ah, okay. So every mistake, even a costly one, provides a lesson.
Exactly. A critical lesson about risk tolerance, maybe legal pitfalls she didn't see, negotiation tactics, things she absolutely needed to learn for the next deal, which might be bigger.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. It takes the sting out of potential failure. It shifts focus from avoiding mistakes at all costs to actually valuing the learning you get from mistakes.
Precisely. So if you spend $10,000 and the deal goes sideways, didn't just lose $10,000, you paid $10,000 for a lesson that could save you $100,000 down the line.
It makes risk feel more calculated, more manageable, less paralyzing.
Yes. Your financial operating system, as she calls it, needs that upgrade. Because an old OS, one that's focused only on fear and caution, just can't effectively run the apps of serious wealth building. Those often require things like leverage or thinking outside the traditional box.
That analogy works really well, like trying to run, I don't know, complex modern software on an ancient computer.
Right. Or if your mindset is stuck on all debt is bad, you simply can't execute a strategy that uses smart debt, smart leverage, to acquire assets that produce cash flow.
So the actionable step for you, the listener, is some deep self-reflection, it sounds like.
Yes. She challenges you. Write down your top 5 limiting money beliefs.
Oh.
Right now, if you can, and dig deep. Is it, I'm just not good with numbers? Or maybe rich people are greedy? Or investing is for other people?
Identify them first.
Identify them. And then consciously, systematically replace them. Change, investing is too complicated for me, into something like, I'm learning to make money work for me, one step at a time. Or I am capable of understanding finance.
And underpinning all of this mindset work is that idea of courage over comfort.
Absolutely central. Kim is crystal clear. Real financial growth never happens inside your comfort zone. Never.
It demands doing things that feel awkward, maybe even scary.
Totally. Asking that dumb question to a banker. Trying to negotiate a better price on something. Admitting you don't understand a financial term instead of just nodding along.
That takes courage.
It does.
Yeah.
And that courage is like a muscle. You build it with every small, consistent action you take that pushes you just outside that comfort zone. That's what allows you to break free from analysis paralysis and actually start doing something.
Okay, so we've tackled the mindset, we've embraced courage. Now we get into the nuts and bolts, moving from thinking wealthy to the practical steps of building wealth. This is where that core rich dad philosophy really comes into play, isn't it?
Yes. Lesson 3 is absolutely non-negotiable. Learn to build and buy assets. For Kiyosaki, the single most crucial piece of financial literacy, the bedrock, is understanding the clear difference between an asset and a liability. And this, she argues, is where conventional wisdom often leads people astray.
Okay, let's get really specific here because she emphasizes simplicity. In her definition, what exactly is a true asset?
A true asset, simply put, is anything that puts money in your pocket, regularly, ideally without you having to actively work for it, beyond the initial setup.
So things like
Rental properties that generate monthly cash flow, dividend-paying stocks, maybe royalties from intellectual property you created, or a business that's systemized to run pretty much without your day-to-day involvement.
okay, and a liability.
A liability is the opposite. It takes money out of your pocket, consistently. The most common ones are consumer debt, credit cards, car loans, and controversially for some, often your primary residence, especially if it has a large mortgage. Kiyosaki really hammers this point. Most people spend their lives acquiring liabilities they think are assets,
Why do they think that?
because society tells them these things. The big house, the fancy car are symbols of success. But financially, they often just drain your resources month after month.
Okay, I have to push on the primary home point because this is a big one for people. Critics of the rich dad approach always bring this up. They say, but my house builds equity. I get tax breaks. How does Kim address the idea that your own home isn't an asset in her framework?
She acknowledges that, yes, over the long term, your home might appreciate in value. That's possible. But on a month-to-month basis, it costs you money, right?
Mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs.
Yeah. Exactly. You're constantly feeding it money. Until you sell it, or maybe rent out part of it, it doesn't feed you. Her focus is relentlessly on cash flow. Does it generate income now? A true asset generates passive income, month in, month out. The goal isn't just building equity someday. It's achieving freedom from needing a job today.
So the ultimate goal is to build up a portfolio of assets where the passive income they generate eventually covers or exceeds your monthly living expenses.
That's the magic number. That point is financial freedom.
Right.
And she uses this great analogy. Think of your assets as your little employees. They're working for you tirelessly, 24/7, bringing in income. Your job is to build up this workforce.
I like that. So the actionable step here sounds like it requires some maybe uncomfortable honesty.
Brutal transparency, yes. You have to sit down and create a real financial statement for yourself, list everything that brings money in versus everything that takes money out. Liabilities on one side, assets on the other.
And then the goal is
Make the asset column grow bigger than the liability column every single year. Systematically take income from your job or wherever and convert it into assets that generate more income passively.
okay, that discipline, that focus on building assets, it requires knowledge, doesn't it? Which leads us nicely into lesson 6, invest in what you understand.
Yes, this is so crucial for managing risk, especially when you're starting out and maybe feeling tempted by, the latest hot tip.
We all know someone like that, right? Jumped into a hot stock or crypto or some complex thing just because they heard about it.
Absolutely. And Kim would classify that behavior as gambling, not investing.
Why the distinction?
Because if you don't understand the underlying fundamentals, how the business makes money, its valuation, the risks involved, the market dynamics, what happens when the price inevitably dips,
You panic.
you panic,
Huh.
and you probably sell at a loss. You don't have that deep knowledge base to make an informed decision whether to hold steady, maybe even buy more because it's now undervalued, or cut your losses strategically.
So her advice is to specialize. You don't need to know everything about everything.
Definitely not. Pick one main wealth-building vehicle. Maybe it's residential real estate. Maybe it's dividend growth stocks. Maybe it's starting and scaling a specific type of small business. Choose one, and then commit to learning it deeply, inside and out.
Like she did with real estate.
Exactly. Her success came primarily from real estate. But she didn't just blindly buy houses. She dedicated herself to understanding the nitty-gritty, how to analyze a cash flow statement for a property, local landlord-tenant laws, calculating cap rates, mastering negotiation.
Let's dig into that real estate piece a bit since it's so central to her story and many women she mentored. When she looked at a potential property, what were the specific technical things, the green lights or red flags she focused on?
She really zeroed in on what she calls the 4 key profit centers in real estate. And you need to understand each one first. Cash flow. Is there positive cash flow after all expenses, mortgage, taxes, insurance, vacancy allowance, repairs? Do rent cover everything and leave profit?
Okay, number 1. Second, appreciation. Is the property likely to increase in value over time? Is the neighborhood improving? Are jobs coming to the area?
Makes sense.
Third, amortization. This is the loan paydown. Your tenant's rent is effectively paying down your mortgage principal each month, building your equity.
Nice.
And fourth, leverage. How effectively can you use OPM, other people's money, meaning the bank's loan, to control a large asset with a relatively small amount of your own cash down? This dramatically boosts your return on investment, your ROI.
Okay, that level of detail is exactly what separates her approach from just, go buy a rental property.
Right.
It's strategic. And that leverage piece, that word often scares people, especially beginners.
It does, but leverage just means using debt intelligently. Good debt helps you acquire assets. Bad debt, like high-interest credit cards for consumption, hurts you.
So good debt. Good debt allows you to control, say, a $500,000 property with maybe only $100,000 of your own money down. Your return is calculated on your $100,000, not the full $500,000, which magnifies your potential percentage gains significantly. Understanding that distinction, good debt versus bad debt, is critical. Debt isn't inherently evil. Unproductive debt is the problem.
That really clarifies it, which makes her cooking analogy spot on.
Investing without understanding these mechanics is like trying to cook a complex dish with no recipe.
You'll just make a mess and waste expensive ingredients.
Right. So the actionable step here has to be pretty demanding. It is. Commit to a serious period of study. She suggests maybe 6 months, focused only on your chosen investment vehicle. Read books, take courses, talk to experts, analyze deals on paper before you put significant money on the line. That education drastically reduces your real risk. Okay, so even if someone has shifted their mindset, they've chosen their investment focus. Kim points out there are still two huge barriers that women in particular often need to break through. One is internal, that deep-seated fear. The other is external, the societal pressure, the isolation that comes from money talk being kind of taboo.
Let's tackle fear first. That's lesson 4. Overcome fear through education. Kim calls fear the #1 showstopper. It's what keeps people stuck in that scarcity comfort zone, stopping them from taking those necessary calculated risks.
And here's a really key insight she offers. You don't actually need to be fearless to be a successful investor. You just need to be prepared.
Oh, okay. Big difference.
Huge difference. Knowledge is what transforms that amorphous fear into manageable risk. Think about it when you encounter something you don't understand, especially in finance with all this jargon. That fear response is natural. It's trying to protect you from the unknown.
She talks about her own experience, right? Feeling panicked when she first heard terms like ROI, cap rates, leverage.
Exactly. She admits she felt overwhelmed. And let's be honest, sometimes that jargon feels deliberately designed to exclude people, to make finance seem like this exclusive club.
So how did she push past that feeling?
She forced herself to learn the language. She dedicated time to breaking down those terms one by one. And what she discovered was finance wasn't some mystical art. It was just a specialized vocabulary. Once she demystified the words, the concepts became understandable, the risks became measurable, and therefore manageable.
That makes her darkroom analogy so effective. Fear thrives in the dark, right?
Precisely. In a dark room, a pile of clothes on a chair can look like a monster. But when you flip on the light switch, and education is the light switch here, you see it clearly for what it is.
The monsters disappear.
They do. Ignorance is the dark room where fear grows. Education turns on the lights.
So the practical application here isn't just a one-off workshop. It's about ongoing learning.
Yes, it's a commitment. Continuous educational consumption. Maybe reading one solid finance book a month, joining an investment club or online group, and critically, making financial discussion a regular, normal part of your life. Don't shy away from it.
And that idea of talking about it openly leads right into the next big barrier, isolation. Lesson 5, build a support network of like-minded women.
Wealth, Kim argues, really thrives in conversation, not in silence or isolation.
What does she mean by that?
Well, society often encourages women to talk about, say, consumption shopping finds, lifestyle choices where they vacationed. But conversations about building capital, analyzing assets, managing debt strategically, much rarer.
Yeah, that's true.
Kim stresses how vital it is to consciously change your environment, your inner circle if necessary. You need to surround yourself with people who are also focused on growth, who discuss potential deals, who celebrate financial wins, big or small, and who will gently hold you accountable to the goals you set. Mentors become key here too.
She used her own Rick's Women's Circles as an example, didn't she? These weren't super formal things.
No, not at all. They started very informally, just friends getting together. But the purpose was clear. Create a safe space to share lessons learned, maybe from a recent property deal that went well or one that didn't, to kick around ideas for new investments, and maybe most importantly, to build that collective confidence, to normalize talking about money and investing.
There's real power in that shared experience, isn't there? Knowing you're not the only one trying to figure this stuff out.
Huge power. The power of the tribe, you could call it. If you're the only person in your social group talking about saving up for a down payment on a rental property, you might feel a bit weird, like an outlier. But if everyone in your circle is talking about their latest investment or analyzing deals or sharing resources, that behavior becomes the norm. It becomes expected. That peer pressure actually starts working for you, shifting focus from just consuming to actively building assets.
She has a great analogy for trying to go it alone, doesn't she?
The Mount Everest analogy. Trying to build significant wealth all by yourself with no guidance or support network is like trying to climb Mount Everest solo, with no guide, no Sherpas.
Possible, maybe, but incredibly hard.
Unnecessarily hard. And exponentially more dangerous. You're far more likely to make costly mistakes that could have been avoided with a bit of shared wisdom or experience guidance.
So the actionable step seems pretty clear.
Be the catalyst. Start your own rich women circle. It doesn't have to be huge, even just 1 or 2 other women who are serious about learning. Define the purpose. Maybe it's discussing financial education resources, maybe reviewing progress towards goals each month, maybe challenging each other's limiting beliefs about money.
Make it a regular thing.
Commit to meeting regularly, say, monthly. Focus each session. Maybe learn one new financial concept together, or analyze a potential deal, or review one particular asset class. Create that supportive, learning-focused environment.
Okay, so we've covered the mindset, the need for knowledge, the importance of taking action, and building a supportive community. Now, Kim brings it all back home, focusing on the ultimate why. That's lesson 7. Freedom is the ultimate goal.
Exactly. She argues really persuasively that true success, true wealth, shouldn't be measured by external things, like the size of your house or the kind of car you drive,
It should be measured
by time, by freedom, by the range of choices you have available to you.
So what does that look like, true wealth?
It's not necessarily about dripping in luxury, though that could be a choice. It's more about the deep peace of mind that comes from knowing you control your path. It's the power to leave a job you hate, to pursue something you're passionate about, even if it pays less initially.
Or to travel extensively.
Or travel for 6 months, yeah. Or maybe just manage your time flexibly around your family's needs without the constant threat of financial pressure dictating every single decision you make.
Kim talks about her own moment of realizing she was rich, right? It wasn't tied to a specific bank balance.
No, it wasn't about hitting a certain dollar figure. She said the feeling of being truly rich washed over her when she had the profound realization after years of consistent, educated investing that she never had to work for money again if she didn't want to.
Wow.
Her assets, the things she had built and bought, were now generating enough passive income to cover all her living expenses, and then some. That was the moment of freedom.
That connects perfectly to the time bank analogy she uses.
It does. When you're financially dependent, usually on a job, your time is essentially owned by someone else or by your debt payments. Financial freedom means you own your time bank. You get to decide how and where you spend every single hour of your life. Time itself becomes the ultimate asset you're accumulating.
And to achieve that state, she brings back the cash flow quadrant concept from Rich Dad, but frames it for the female investor's journey. The goal is that shift.
From the left side to the right side. Moving from being an E employee or an S, self-employed, where you are essentially working for money.
Trading time for dollars.
Right. To the B, business owner, and I, investor quadrants, on the right side, where you have assets or systems working for you, generating money.
Why is that distinction particularly important for women, in her view?
Well, many women are naturally entrepreneurial. They might move from being an employee to being self-employed S, starting a freelance gig, opening a small shop, becoming a consultant. And that's great. But the S quadrant still relies heavily on their personal active labor.
If they stop working, the income stops.
Pretty much, yeah. It's still fundamentally a job they own. So the B, the business owner, is different, Howie.
The B builds systems that can operate largely without them being there day to day. They might employ people, use technology effectively.
Yeah.
The business becomes an asset that generates income. And the I, the investor, focuses purely on deploying capital into assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, other businesses to generate passive income and capital appreciation. Kiyosaki really emphasizes the need for women to actively seek the knowledge required to operate in the B and I quadrants because that's where true time freedom lies. So the actionable step here is about laser focus on the target.
Yes. You can't just vaguely wish to be wealthy someday. Kim demands specificity. Define exactly what financial freedom looks like for you. Get concrete. Is it $5,000 a month in passive income? Is it $10,000? Is it having enough to cover your core expenses plus travel? Put a number on it.
And once you have that number,
Then every single financial decision you make from that point forward needs to be evaluated against that goal. Ask yourself, does this purchase, does this investment, does this use of my time move me closer to or further away from that specific freedom number? That clarity aligns your actions.
okay. That detailed planning focus brings us nicely to a wrap-up of all the actionable takeaways. Kim Kiyosaki is very practical. What are the immediate steps you, the listener, need to implement based on the book?
All right, let's run through them. A quick checklist for action.
First, start with your mindset. Really identify and consciously challenge those top 5 limiting beliefs you have about money, wealth, and your own capabilities.
Second, track your finances meticulously.
Yeah.
You absolutely must know your current assets, your liabilities, your income, your expenses, and your monthly cash flow. You can't manage what you don't measure.
Third, commit to deep learning in one specific investment area, whether it's real estate analysis, understanding dividend stocks, or structuring a small business. Pick one and go deep before you put significant money in.
Fourth, start small, but crucially, start now. Don't wait for the perfect time or until you have a huge lump sum. Getting started, even small, lets time and the power of compounding work for you. It builds momentum.
Fifth, join or create a supportive group, that Women's Finance Circle we talked about. You need accountability, shared wisdom, and a place to normalize conversations about building wealth.
Sixth, practice talking about money confidently and openly. Discuss deals, strategies, lessons learned. Break the taboo. The more you talk about it, the more comfortable and knowledgeable you become.
Seventh, always educate before you invest. Resist the hype. Ignore hot tips from friends unless you do your own thorough research and understand the fundamentals. Due diligence is key.
Eighth, make it a habit to reinvest your profits. When your assets generate income or appreciate, plow that money back into acquiring more assets. That's how you harness compounding and really accelerate your journey to freedom.
And ninth, tying back to what we just discussed, define your financial freedom goal with absolute specificity. Put a number on it, write it down. Knowing your precise destination keeps you motivated and ensures you're on the right path, especially when things get challenging. Hashtag outro.
So if we had to boil down the entire philosophy of Rich Woman into, say, 5 quick, memorable takeaways, the kind you could share easily, what would they be?
Okay, let's try. Number 1, a man is not a financial plan. You absolutely have to build your own secure foundation, period.
2, upgrade your money mindset. Shift from scarcity to abundance. Wealth starts with genuinely believing you deserve it and are capable of creating it.
3, build assets, not debt. Focus relentlessly on acquiring things that put money in your pocket, not things that take it out. Hire your money to work for you.
4, find your tribe. Connect with other women focused on financial growth. Support networks accelerate learning and build confidence exponentially. Learn and grow together.
And 5, education kills fear. Knowledge transforms uncertainty into calculated risk. Always learn before you leap, especially with your money.
That really captures the essence, doesn't it? Kim Kiyosaki offers both the blueprint and that essential kick of motivation to stop just hoping for financial security and start actively strategically building it.
Yeah, it's a really powerful book, a true catalyst for taking control.
And let's leave listeners with that final, empowering quote from her. You don't have to be a genius to be rich. You just have to be brave enough to learn.
That bravery, that willingness to just start learning, that's something everyone has access to right now. Which leads us to a final thought for you to mull over. Kim strongly suggests that achieving financial independence isn't just about money. It's ultimately a profound act of self-care. You're protecting your future self, ensuring her freedom, her choices, her peace of mind. So the provocative question is, why do so many women delay this fundamental act of self-care, often until a crisis forces their hand?
That's a powerful question to sit with. Let that thought maybe be the nudge you need to take that first brave step today.
Absolutely. And if you found the summary helpful, please do subscribe to our channel Book by Book. We bring you helpful book summaries like this regularly. Also, please like this summary and share it with others who might benefit. Your support truly motivates us to keep finding and sharing the best book insights.